Welcome to Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real, where we introduce corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and participate with their great idea in our guest blog found on shareyourstories.online. We have a returning guest, Renee Besson. After 20 years in accounting and finance, Renee has decided to follow her passion as a performer, actor, and voiceover talent, trading numbers for notes, and joins us from Toronto, Ontario. It is my pleasure to introduce and welcome Renee Besson.
Thank you so much, Trish. It's really a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you back to hear all about the wonderful transition you're making in your career. Give us some highlights. Why did you decide to make this change?
Yeah, well, I've always been sort of like a creative and a performer at heart, and I'm grateful for accounting. It served me, and it still does serve me well. But there's always been this sort of creative side of me that's kind of been nagging at me. It's almost like a beast that wants to escape from within, and so I have decided to indulge that beast, if you will. It's been a little bit of a gradual process from
Sure.
from starting to a few years ago. Like, we had a convention where we were entertaining people from all over the world, like the States and Europe. And so at that point I decided to sing and be the leader of a band. So it kind of went from vocal lessons to piano lessons and to voiceover now here.
Oh, that's so cool. You know what I love is that you've sort of connected the dots, right? You started with something that was obviously musical related, and then you've taken that from singing into an instrumentation, and now you're using your beautiful voice to do talent voiceover. Now, tell me, and for those folks in our viewing and listening audience who are going, what exactly is voiceover? What is that? What do you do? Maybe you can give us some of the things. I mean, I certainly know that anyone who's looking to have their book done as an audio tape could certainly engage your services so that you can tell their story, as an example. But what are some of the other ways in which you can use your talent?
Yeah, good question. I'm so glad you asked, because there's really so many genres when it comes to voiceover. There's, for instance, commercials that you see on TV that have a voice. And even within that, there's different commercials. Like, there's the public service announcement, there's the soft sell, there's the buy now hard sell, so there's that commercials. And like you said, there's audiobooks and corporate narrations. A lot of corporate things do internal training or a message for their own staff. There's
Well, I guess, yeah, videos even, right?
Yeah.
Because some people are now saying, now that, lots of folks are repurposing and refocusing their energy, right? So I would think that a corporation who wants to put out a new product and service announcement to the world at large, that they can engage you to provide the voiceover to that particular, to whatever it is they're trying to communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Right. So, and I mean, and there's many different ways like a corporation may choose to do that. They may choose to do an animated video or a whiteboard, or it could be, filming live footage and having a voice over that. So that's a big thing too,
Yeah, for sure. So lots of opportunities,
Right.
really,
Yeah.
to use the talent that you have in a voice. And I think we all know there's certain actors. You hear them do something similar where they're doing a voiceover on a commercial, and you think, "Who is that? I know who that is."
Yeah.
So your voice will become your brand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Like, nobody is you, right? Like, everybody's voice is unique, everybody's
Mhm.
personality is unique. So it kind of gives you that opportunity in the sense that you're not competing, in the sense that nobody can be you, right? So
No, it's so
what
true.
it's just a matter of being a fit to those who want to work with you. So
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have done an amazing new logo, which of course we featured in the marketing picture that we've shown pre and post interview. Give
mhm.
me a little bit of insight into how you decided to develop a whole new look.
Yeah. So fortunately, my husband is a graphic designer, and
Woohoo! That's happening.
right? So that works. And so Yeah, it took some time. Like I kind of played with a few different looks, but the more I kind of settled in and was in the booth and kind of got inspired, I kind of settled in. Like I knew I wanted something a little softer, something that sort of
Mhm,
like represented me. And then it was a
mhm,
matter of like choosing colors. Like lately I have been into the darker spectrums of blue with
mhm.
the golds. And so I'm like, okay, I love that look. And so yeah, slowly by little by little, it kind of came together. And so, yeah, I really do love
Yeah, it
the,
looks fantastic, and I have to say that, I really think it does give us a little bit of an insight into your personality as well. You know, you talked a little bit about the color, and I think that's important too, right? Because everybody's trying to make a connection with you, not just with your voice, but also with this whole new, career path that you're on.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
If you had to say that there was one skill that
Mhm.
you've taken from, we'll call it your past life, so the accounting and finance life, because everybody thinks, "Oh, geez, that's a pretty, you know, numbers and dollars and cents are pretty specific, and now you've really crossed the bridge into something, wow, really creative." Is there a skill that you feel that you've taken from your accounting and finance background that serves you well in the creative side of your new business?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what that is, Trish? Human connection. Like, it
Ah,
doesn't matter what we're doing, like what we're marketing, what we're selling, whether it's accounting services or it's voiceover services, like forming those relationships and maintaining
mhm,
those relationships and fostering those relationships, like for instance, the one that you and I have, right? Like
mhm,
you've
mhm.
known me since I was in that accounting and finance world, but we've carried that relationship over until
Yeah,
now. And that is super important. Like it doesn't
yeah,
really matter. You know this. This is not
yeah,
something new that I'm telling you, but I
yeah.
would say if there's any one skill that carries over, that would be it. Would be the marketing and the human connections, the relationships.
You know, that's so true, and I love the fact that you've mentioned it doesn't matter what your product or service is.
Mhm.
That particular skill is important no matter what you do.
Oh, 110%, right? Like,
Now give us the visual. So we're going to set the stage here because obviously you're in a sound booth when you do a voiceover. It's a little bit different than, you know, my little podcast studio here, which is actually in my living room. But
mhm,
so here you are, you're in a sound booth, you're alone, you've got someone who's in tech out in another area who I'm assuming there's, you know, glass in between, and you're
mhm,
having some sort of communication, and there's this big, huge, very professional mic in front of you. So give us some indication as to how does that feel? Because it must be a very different feeling to be able to execute in that environment. What's that environment feel like?
um, honestly, I really like it. Like I love the fact that like so there's two things. I have my home studio here where I'm alone and then I do the tech part, but then when I go physically to the booth, there's an audio engineer and a lot of times there's somebody like a producer who's actually like a client directing you, right? Like saying
Right.
make this one sound more punchy. Okay, I want this one to sound like maybe a little softer or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So I love being in the booth because you have that collaboration with
Mhm.
other bodies and other input, and I actually find it, um, energizing and exciting. Sometimes you go there and you see, you know, posters of celebrities who may have recorded in the booth before you, and I
Yeah,
don't know,
that's kind of
something
cool.
about it, like
Yeah, that's kind of cool. There, you almost borrow on the energy, right? When you go
right?
into that environment, for sure. That would be really cool. Now,
Yeah.
how are you meeting clients? Because it's clearly got to be a totally different kind of way to market because you're marketing a different product and service. And how are you finding that you're opening the doors to collaborate with a whole new host of potential clients? How are you doing that?
Yeah. So basically, reaching out to people who would buy the service, you know,
Mhm.
like video producers, small
Ah,
marketing agencies, um, agencies like talent agencies, ones who have a voiceover department and specialize in that way. So again, it may be targeting different people in a different industry, but it's again establishing those relationships and
right.
maintaining and building them. So it's a numbers game, right? Like it's
Mhm.
the amount of reach outs and the amount of connections you make leads eventually to the more work you do. So that's one way. That's a big thing. And aside from that, something else that's popular in the industry is putting yourself on different websites that showcase voiceover talent. So I'm doing that as
Oh,
well. So those are
cool.
the main two avenues.
Now, is there, so say as an example, I'm going to redo my website and I'm looking for a different look, and we're all looking for that connection,
Mhm,
little something different that can attract our client.
mhm,
Is there on, most of our homepages are static, right? They're
mhm.
just, you scroll through, you click on the dashboard at the top to get to the different icons. Can you add your voice to something like a website, and you can say whatever it is the person is looking to convey, and then you add a different kind of connection with the
Yeah,
potential client.
100%. So on in this industry, your demo reel is like your calling card. So that's what
Okay.
people want to hear. They want to listen to you. Like, how do you sound?
Sound
And do
right.
you have range, right? Like, you don't want everything to sound the
The
same as the
same.
next. So that's the first thing. Like on your website, on a voiceover artist's website, they would have their demos. So they may have a commercial demo. They may have an animation demo where they're doing different character voices,
Sure.
right? They'll
Sure.
have like we talked about corporate narration, so they could have a demo for that. Even IVR,
Yeah.
you have reached Blake and Blake or whoever.
Right.
And so various demos so that people, whatever they're looking for, whatever genre they're looking for, whatever sound they're looking for, they can get a
See it.
taste. For
Yeah, for
example, like
sure. And would you do that on corporate? So, say as an example, on my website, would you be available to do a voiceover on my website so that I look different from the other folks who may be in my industry?
100%. So if you wanted to, like, let's say, do some sort of narration or showcase, absolutely. Absolutely, we can do that. I have another colleague, she's just opened like a hearing, she's an audiologist. So I'm doing some voiceover work for her as well
Oh,
to
that's
showcase
cool.
her business. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Anything,
we need something innovative, right? Like, we're
yeah.
all looking for things that are innovative, and you're providing creative services, in my mind, they're a little outside the box.
Mhm, mhm. Exactly, right? And that's the kind of cool thing about it is, like, I can be whatever you want me to be. You know what I mean?
That's so
Whether it's
true.
up, whether it's down or in the
Yeah.
middle, like,
Yeah. And I think that the innovation that you and the connection that you get to make with potential clients is really kind of cool, because I know before our conversation, I never thought of an opportunity for you to do a voiceover on my website as an example. But why not?
Yeah,
Why
oh,
not come up with a way that sets you apart from the competition, right?
yeah, absolutely. I would totally love to. That
So
would be
that's a really cool thing. I think that the wonderful thing about what you're doing, Renee, is you're really stepping outside the traditional box of what is business. And you're taking, especially after 20 years. I mean, lots of people say, is it ever too late? Is there ever in your mind, or was there ever in your mind? Is there something that pushed you to the forefront to say, I have to do this now?
Yeah, yeah. Like, I think that as humans, there we all have a bit of hesitation, I
Mhm,
think that's natural.
mhm.
But for me, like I said, that sort of creative side of me, and at the same time, it kind of coincided with me meeting people who are already in the industry and saying, hey, no, like, give it a try. Like, we will sort of guide you and point you in the direction where you need to go to get started. So I'm very grateful and will always be for that, because it gave me that opportunity and that confidence, for that
Yeah,
matter,
yeah.
to get the ball rolling.
So did you've segued into something really wonderful for us to talk about, and that is mentorship or role models. So there
Mhm.
must have been someone that you heard, or something that you had seen, or an experience that you had where you said, I think that I can do that. So is there a voice that comes to mind that you thought, wow, that's really compelling and very amazing, and I think I can do that too?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have a family friend who, oddly enough, she was on a podcast really similar to this, talking about something similar, how she transitioned from corporate to voiceover. And so, like, when I watched the podcast, I thought, oh my goodness, that's so cool. Like, I would love to do that. But she's a family friend who I'd known from a long time ago. But oddly enough, a year ago, I actually bumped into her. So we got talking about it, and then she's like, absolutely. Like, if you want to try, I've done it. You can do it too. So, why not? Like, why not? I always think that if you want to try something, everybody and it doesn't even have to be like a career change but if you'd want to learn something new or try something, it can be on a small scale even. But like
Right.
I think that a lot of people hold back, and I always think to myself like how much talent is hidden that we're actually missing because of people's fears and inhibitions.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, when we look even at, people did a lot of things during the pandemic that they never thought they would do, right?
100%.
And so it gave people an opportunity to look maybe and say, wow, that thing that I've been doing for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, maybe there's something else. Maybe there's another avenue that's open for me. And I think that because of the climate that we were in, a lot of folks got pushed to do things really different and maybe pursue some of those things. And I love the fact that you mentioned the fear, because isn't it the fear truly that stops us from doing those things?
Absolutely, like fear of like how is it going to look or what other people might say. And that is a real thing because not
Mhm.
everybody all the time is always positive, but it's really about being true to yourself and what you and realizing like I remember even when I spoke to a girlfriend about this and I'm like, "Oh, and I really want to try it, but what if I fail?" And
Yeah, what if I fail? Holy cow, that's a horrible thing. That word is just that stops us in our tracks, right?
But you know what she said to me, Trish, that I can't get out of my head? She said, "Yeah, but what if you succeed?"
Ah, now that was a very brilliant and wonderful friend, right?
Right? And so, I mean, hey, like, yeah, I'm really big on learning new things and trying new things. And I always tell people, like, you don't even have to be good at something to enjoy it. Like, I have a girlfriend who's taken up roller skating. She's like, "Oh, I'm like, you're new. Like, nobody's born knowing how to roller skate. Just girlfriend, do your thing."
Yeah, you know what? That is so true. And because I think part of the fear is we expect excellence
Yeah.
immediately, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, just think back when we were riding our first two-wheeler bike, right? And we
Mhm.
had the little training wheels. Dad put the training wheels on, or mom put the training wheels on and was running down the street with us to make sure we didn't fall, right? And
Right.
then there's that morning where all of a sudden you like take off and you're like, okay, no more training wheels. But
Yep.
it takes a little bit of practice. I mean, we have to give ourselves an opportunity to at least try, right?
100%, right? And there's gonna be some falls and bumps and bruises along the way, but that's okay. Like, just like that two-wheeler bike, you get up and you keep going, right?
Give it another try. So, if there was a piece of advice that you could give to folks who are listening to us and saying, "Oh yeah, sure, she's already, she's got moved into this new career and it's going wonderfully, and clearly she's got this great voice. I can't do what I want to do because there's some sort of barrier there in their way." How did you overcome the barrier? Because we've all had barriers when we start something new. I mean, I think when I moved into doing artwork full time, I kept thinking, "Oh, brother, the voice of my dad in the back of my head saying, you can't make any money doing that." And so you had to overcome the barrier. Is there a barrier or a skill that you use to overcome that inhibition in order to just say, "I'm just going to do it"?
Yeah, that's a really good question because absolutely, of course, there's barriers, like there's mental barriers and even like some other people who might say out of the kindness of out of good intention that maybe this isn't a good idea
Mhm.
when you
Yeah, absolutely.
establish
They're
this.
looking at you like they're going cross-eyed thinking, "What are you,
What
crazy?"
are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
why? You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So, one thing, like, I'm grateful for, supportive people in my life, like my husband and a lot of supportive friends, ones like yourself who I've met over the years who are very supportive. So, I think reaching out to a community who will support you,
yeah.
is huge. And also just knowing that, like, okay, I'm going to try something. And you know what? Let's say the absolute worst, like it doesn't.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but for me, like I said, like knowing that I had this creative part of me inside that
Mhm.
wanted to come out and I did indulge it and I did try, at the end of the day, that there's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that, right? So let's say like the worst didn't happen. Like I still will enjoy the times like having music nights with talented friends here and them bringing their guitars and us singing, or me playing the piano, or you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I there's still that part of me. Like it just makes me feel a little more complete knowing that I've indulged the left and right brain, if that
Isn't
makes sense.
that's amazing, Renee, really, because I love the fact that you've not abandoned who you were. You're evolving in and taking all of the skills and experience that you have and just moving it into a different direction, which is really what life is all about, right?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one of the things that we do in the guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. And I have to say, I love your 3 words because I think they're very poignant to anyone who wants to make a career transition or change. And that is rise above fear. So, share with us why those 3 words are important to you.
They're important to me because I know so many people who would have liked to try something, and now maybe they're in their 70s or 80s, but because they kind of had that fear of maybe what people would say, or oh, you can't do that because that won't make money, or whatever reason, or just fear of like while you're learning something, people saying that, hey, well, this isn't good because you haven't reached that. But until you get like there is a journey to becoming an expert,
Mhm.
but they don't give themselves that chance.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like I don't want to be one of those people, but I don't really want to see other people be that person either. Like I really think that we're multifaceted as humans, that everybody has a creative thing. I don't care if you're good at it or not. The point is you're indulging that side of you and you're doing something that brings you joy. And I would love to see every man, woman, and child, every person be able to say at the end of the day that they did that for themselves. So, in spite of the fact that their own mental barriers saying, oh, well, you shouldn't do this, or somebody else, it could be, I don't care if it's internal or external, but I really, really, really think that you should push through that fear, those doubts, those inhibitions, and really try. I think it's very important to satisfy the human soul and who you are holistically.
You know what? That's such a wonderful way for us to wrap up our conversation today because it really is, that's exactly the tone of anyone who has said, I'm just going to try it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I could get to the end of my days and have regrets.
Hmm.
And nobody wants to be in that place. So,
Exactly.
congratulations to you, really, Renee, for really stepping outside. And I love your references to left and right brain. And I love the fact that you're pursuing something new because of a passion and a love, and you're just taking the bull by the horns and giving it a try.
Thank you so much, Trish. I'm always thrilled to be here with you and have these conversations. You know that I love them, so I really appreciate you having me on today.
Listen, it's my absolute pleasure. And I know that our viewing and listening audience is going to be able to jot down some notes and take some inspiration from you and the direction that you're going in your career. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And to you, our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Keeping It Real, introducing you to the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you'll find Renee's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, founder and host for the series. And if you're interested in sharing your business story, visit our website at shareyourstories.online. And for other inspirational stories, subscribe to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.